Welcome to our presentation, Opportunities for Blockchain Technology and NFTs in the Real World. I would like to introduce myself. I am Masha Edelen, COO of OwnerFi. That's our company that specializes in NFTs. Specifically, we have created an API that you can mint NFTs with. And we'll do some demos at the end of the presentation to show how you can do that. I have been with ColdFusion in ColdFusion space for over 20 years now. I have also another company that I've ran for all this time, for over 20 years, Momenta. We've done web development. Most of it has been in ColdFusion for all these years. We have added some WordPress recently, but I consider myself die-hard fan of ColdFusion and still use it every day. I met Nick in 2019 when I lived in California, and so we've started this company. And in 2020, we've actually pivoted towards the NFTs, and that's where we are now. Nick is the real expert of NFTs, and I would like to turn it over to him to do the majority of the talking points of the presentation, with me showing more ColdFusion examples in the second half. Over to you, Nick.
Thank you very much, Masha. So we originally started this company, OwnerFi, to track ownership of personal property, and I had been working on NFTs and blockchain technology before Masha and I officially started OwnerFi, and then but the NFT world was sort of dead, and there was nothing going on with like even blockchain in late 2018 and during 2019. We were doing like property tracking without a blockchain, but then everybody sort of picked up on NFTs and blockchain again, and it was a good time to sort of merge what I had been working on with our property tracking that we're doing with OwnerFi. So now we have sort of a comprehensive a platform for that, and we use NFTs heavily, and we help a lot of people with their NFT and blockchain strategies. And so that's why we can do this presentation, to try and shed some light on what people are using NFTs for in the real world, and why they're actually practical and not just pictures of apes. So non-fungible tokens were originally invented, you could say, would go all the way back to 2013, and the invention of the idea of color coins on the Bitcoin blockchain. So the idea of NFTs is actually very not very old, but old in blockchain years. So what we think of now as NFTs isn't really what most of the creators and most of the people who invented NFTs, who were deciding how they would use this technology. They weren't thinking people were going to be using NFTs for art specifically, or for like these collections of apes or punks or anything like that. So that's how the world knows NFTs today, but that isn't really where they started. Before I get to all of that, I'll go through the foundation of blockchain real quick for anybody who still hasn't really spent a lot of time on blockchain. A blockchain is a shared database. I'm sure everyone here knows what a database is. So a blockchain is it's a shared database that is mathematically secure in such a way that if you were to change any older part of the database, it would corrupt the rest of the database. So it's a linked list of proofs going back on the database, so that it's all linked to itself. Nobody can change the database, and everybody's looking at the same database. So that's essentially what a blockchain is, what Bitcoin is. And Ethereum and blockchains, today, are just this shared database that everybody has the exact same copy of that database. Now, how you add data to that database is um, is a gamification sort of, and that's different between a lot of different blockchains. Whether it's the energy intensive proof, mathematical proof that Bitcoin uses, where everybody has to guess this special number that nobody knows until somebody guesses it, or if it's the more modern version that Ethereum just came out with, where there's special computers that are designated that are allowed to add transactions to the network. Either way, it's still just a public database that everybody has the exact same copy of, and then there's some kind of game that allows some kind of game theory that allows people to add data to the database that tries to make it fair, so that everybody has like a fair chance of adding data to that database. So here's some of the properties of a blockchain. It's programmable, it's distributed, immutable. That just means you can't change history. Time stamped, everything is in chronological order. Unanimous, everybody has the same exact copy. And some of them are anonymous, some of them are not. And if you were to remove any, like most of these, if you were to remove immutable, then it would all fall apart. If you were to remove the chronological order, it would all fall apart. So why would anybody use this technology, right? Like who cares? Like you could just use a private database if you wanted to. You could just use a SQL database, or or big table or something like that. And those are actually better for, I want to say, probably most use cases. It's probably better to use a private database. If you're keeping your user records, for your company in a database, you would, most of that stuff is going to be secret. That information, you want those transactions to happen really fast. There's no reason that would be a really bad place to put your users' emails and stuff in a blockchain. The blockchain is for data where there's a trust factor. There's a factor of like everybody's holding your company accountable. Everybody's holding each other accountable for this data. That it's like a game of a standoff where everybody's pointing a gun at each other. Everybody knows what everybody else has on that database, so nobody can change anything without everybody else knowing. So that's why it's really good for sort of like legal data, where you don't necessarily have to trust this party, because there's this data, it's called the trustless third party, which is the ledger that's managing the data. So you don't have to trust the person you're working with implicitly, because mathematically they can't change the blockchain. So it's really good for stuff like money. Okay, and that's what everybody uses it primarily for right now with Bitcoin, and most of the cryptocurrencies are for keeping track of the quantity of how much Bitcoin, they call it, which is just a quantity. There's 21 million Bitcoin, and everybody knows exactly how much Bitcoin everybody else has. And then so every once in a while somebody comes up with a new cryptocurrency, and it has the same properties of Bitcoin. As they say, there's 10 million. This guy's got this many. This guy's got that many. I'm going to send something to that guy, and everybody can see the transactions, so they know that this person, it minus from this person's account and added to this person's account, and everybody can see that, so everybody knows it's fair. And what value does that have? The value is in that it's very difficult to break this system. So the value is all in the security of the network. So if Bitcoin was hackable, if it was breakable, it would have been broken, it would have been hacked. But in the history of Bitcoin, it has yet to be broken, it has yet to be hacked so far. And that's with the best hackers in the world trying night and day for the last 12, 14 years to break the system. And that's where literally all of the value comes from, is in its security. And if you were to come up with a new cryptocurrency and you were to try and have it compete with Bitcoin, and people do all the time, The reason they don't have that value is because they don't have that level of security where there's not one person can change the numbers and change the and break the trust. And with Bitcoin, no one can break the trust, and that's where. So you can say it's like tulips, and it's like, well, why does it have value? It's like tulips, but tulips didn't have an unhackable public database involved. So it's a little bit different in that there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of computers around the world supporting this network, and it's that network effect and the security they create that creates the value. So there's other properties which are really important, but they're just kind of all play into that. And that's that you can't change it. That everybody.
Immutability is really important too, right, Nate?
Yeah. So you can't change the history. So nobody can change the history of the transaction record. This person sent this to that person. This person sent that. And when you get into other blockchains, Ethereum, then you start being able to save other data, not just quantities. So if you think about like Bitcoin, how this person has 5, that person has 10, this person has 1,000. Those are just quantities. Like you think about like a chart, a mathematical, like a calculus graph, that's like one axis. You've got one vector, just quantity. Now, when you look at Ethereum, you suddenly have way more axes because you can save text, you can save images. It's very expensive. You wouldn't want to save a lot of images, but you can technically save any data you want on Ethereum. So now, say you wanted to prove that some document existed, you could save the proof of that document on the blockchain itself. And now with that immutability, you can prove that you wrote that document 10 years ago. And now somebody else were to come along and say, no, I wrote this document 5 years ago. You can prove mathematically you wrote it 10 years ago. And as of right now, that would be a scientific proof that everybody would, you could have scientists come up and take the stand and swear that this was accurate. So immutability, security, transparency, authenticity, sort of the same thing. It's like, yeah, I wrote that, or I created that piece of art 10 years ago. And that's kind of related to what everybody's doing with NFTs right now, but I'll get into that. Data longevity, that's the idea that how long is this data going to last? So one of the reasons why people buy into like 10,000 Bored Apes, like big popular NFT collection, there's only 10,000 of them. People expect that these NFTs are going to be in their bank accounts, in their crypto wallets for decades. They're expecting a lifetime generational wealth from this stuff. Same thing with Bitcoin. They're expecting that this network and these Bitcoin are going to last their family generations, and as of right now, we don't know if that's what the case is, but a lot of people expect that this Bitcoin network is going to last for hundreds of years. And the Bitcoin network actually is programmed to continue producing block rewards up until like 21 something. So Satoshi, the pseudonymical creator of Bitcoin, programmed it to last at least 100 years for the code in the blockchain code for the network. So longevity is really important. It is the whole idea that like it's a good investment because it's going to last. If people thought it was going to disappear in a few years, and that's why some projects and some cryptocurrencies are worth more than others, because people have a lot more confidence that Bitcoin is going to last 100 years than they do some random, BitConnect coin or something that somebody just invented and one person controls. So this is kind of what I was talking about with all these blockchains right now. How valuable they are really has a lot to do with not just their functionality, but how long people are expecting them to last, what their security is, what they're investing in things that they think are going to be here tomorrow and in 10 years from now. And everybody has, there's a large understanding that Bitcoin is still going to be around in 10 years because it has a really strong network effect. And a lot of people are already securing the network, and it's been tested So it's there's a lot of humanity involved in all this. So everybody stopped mining Bitcoin tomorrow, network would collapse. But it's got that network effect. That's what people are really investing in. And so you have Ethereum, which is the second one, because it also has a large network effect. It's like a 10x order of magnitude less, but it also does a lot more functionally as far as that data that I was talking about, being able to save other data onto it. And then you have sort of the next ones down. They all have their pros and cons. BNB is kind of really centralized. It's like one company, Binance, controls it. Binance has been in the news a lot lately. They're a big megacorp that is the biggest cryptocurrency exchange in the world. And their coin that they have is called Binance. Now, personally, I don't think it has a lot of value. It should have as much value as it does, because it doesn't have a lot of these properties that should give a blockchain value. But what it does have, which kind of throws everything off for a loop, is that it's run by one really big company, and they give value to it. So, it's a little bit of an outlier. But these other coins are much more along that traditional centralized. Cardano, Solana. We made this chart before Solana sort of collapsed. So Solana's probably way further down the line now. But then you have Polygon, Tron, and some other ones, and they're all a little bit less decentralized, or there's a little bit less viral network effect as you go down the list. Some of the crypto, some of the blockchains like Polygon and Arbitrum and Optimism are sort of Ethereum tied to the Ethereum network. So they're very closely tied to Ethereum in that people use them as like an Ethereum alternative. And in fact, their code sometimes checks and hashes or proofs into Ethereum. So they're actually really tightly knit with Ethereum. It doesn't mean it's easy to move assets back and forth, but it does mean that like the same code works on both of them. So they're part of something called like the EVM ecosystem, which stands for Ethereum Virtual Machine. And at our company, we use a lot of Polygon because it's literally 1,000 times cheaper and 1,000 times faster than Ethereum, while having the same code. The difference is that it's not as decentralized as Ethereum. So it's trying to be as decentralized as Ethereum, but right now, if you're buying something like a Bored Ape where it's $150,000 for an NFT, a lot of people would prefer that to be on Ethereum, even though it costs $4 or sometimes $20 to move it from one wallet to another wallet, whereas on Polygon it costs 1/10 of a penny. So that's
becoming more prominent now too, right? It's getting more notoriety with new projects and so forth.
Right. Yeah. So for instance, Donald Trump's NFT project was on Polygon, right? And it did just as well as a normal Ethereum project would do, which is that it made like $5 million. And love or hate Donald Trump, it's an example of fundraising, of the fundraising potential that these projects have. And that was a project that would have had to be on Ethereum 2 years ago. And now it's possible to be on Polygon because Polygon's network effect is big enough that people trust it enough to have a project where each NFT is $1,000 or $46,000 in some cases. And even though it's still only costing pennies to transfer and move around. So you're getting the best of both worlds now for some of these projects when you're able to use they call it a layer 2 like Polygon, but still have the same value because people are trusting it as much as like Ethereum. So and Meta is using Polygon and also Reddit and some other ones. So but yeah, I don't want to go too much into that right now because I could go on about it all day. So blockchain, why blockchain? I think I did that one.
Keep going backwards.
All right, here we go. Yeah. Okay. What is an NFT? Okay. So what I was talking about earlier with the Bitcoin. Bitcoin is quantity, right? You have someone will give you 10,000 Bitcoin, and then they give somebody else 5,000 Bitcoin. So every single Bitcoin is worth exactly the same thing as every other Bitcoin. So that property of having a lot of things, like if I was selling corn, and I'm giving you like 1,000 corn on the cob from one farm. Every single one of those corn cobs is worth exactly the same amount. That's when they're doing the transaction, they're not going to bother trying to figure out which corn cob is worth more or less when you're talking about that scale. But basically, anything that has that property where every unit is worth as much as every other unit that property is called fungible. So every dollar bill is worth as much as every other dollar bill. Um, you know, even some of them are special. They have like some kind of broken misprinter, but most dollar bills are fungible with each other. And so a non-fungible token is when each one is worth a different amount from each other. So a non-fungible token, when you're talking about cryptocurrency, is basically you have a set of tokens, which is like an ID number for each token. Now, Bitcoin doesn't have ID numbers because they're all the same. So there's Bitcoin. Actually, you just say you have 50 Bitcoin, but each individual Bitcoin doesn't have an ID number. With NFTs, every NFT actually does have an individual number, and you can own one, and it can have different properties. So each non-fungible token on it's like a title, a description, an image associated with it. Now, those things are not normally saved on the blockchain itself. So there's a lot of misnomers about just misunderstandings about keeping data private, or keeping you have an art NFT. Well, I can see it. Well, the point is not to hide the data of what the NFT is. The point is to just own it and prove that you're the owner of it. So it's so there's some video that somebody made about I can't remember the guy's name on YouTube. It's really popular, but he goes over the fact that oh, look at this, I downloaded every single NFT image into a big file for anybody can BitTorrent and download it. And then a bunch of NFT enthusiasts said, well, thanks, like we were having trouble sharing all these files, that will make it a lot easier for people to see the images. Because that's not the point. The point is that you can see our wallet, which is the wallet ID that was created that currently owns that token on blockchain that was created on. So you can see which owner is supposed to be is who that NFT is currently assigned to. So most people are just using that right now for like bragging rights, essentially. Like, I own this, so I am special, and that's what a lot of the tokens, like some of the big projects like Bored Apes or CryptoPunks, are doing. But they do sometimes provide special value to their owners, like they have like a party for them, or they give them some special benefits. They have like rights to the intellectual property of that token. And so there was a guy who opened a restaurant based on his ape that he owns, and so then the person who owns that token can prove mathematically that they are the owner. So down the road, when people are trading rights for things, and people are saying, well, who has the rights to something? Then you can look on the blockchain, and somebody can prove mathematically whether they are the owner of that token. And what's really interesting about that is that they can prove it anonymously if they wanted to. So somebody could own a property, if like you had real estate that was in the form of an NFT, somebody could prove that they owned that NFT anonymously over the internet, and they could sell that real estate if you had a legal system that went along with that. Now, we currently don't have that legal system, but third parties can enforce those bonds. So like Starbucks is doing NFTs, and Starbucks can say, whoever owns this NFT can get free coffee for life. it's a really expensive NFT. They could say that. And now they can enforce that because they're the private party and they're the third party. So then the person who owns that NFT could go onto the Starbucks website, prove they own the NFT, and have coffee sent to them, whether or not they prove to Starbucks who they are. They could do it programmatically and anonymously if they wanted to. So will we ever have the legal system so people can do like property and stuff like that? Maybe not today, but the technology supports it. So, with the next generation who's very much more enthusiastic about this technology, we could have a world where people agree to have those kinds of laws, and then the ease of trading NFTs around, because you can do it on the internet, and there's a lot of rails essentially built. I mean, it's an asset trading. There's an asset trading universal. It's a universal system basically for trading assets online, so that's interoperable between systems. So it's like when they made the railroad tracks initially in America, and the railroad gauges were all different. The trains couldn't go on each other's railroad track. Well, now you have a standardized gauge for trading assets and between systems, and that is NFTs. So that just is an efficiency improvement. And whenever you have efficiency improvements, things migrate towards efficiency improvements. Okay, so right now you have mostly people are using NFTs to raise money, which is a really good use for it, even though a lot of people don't like it. It has proven to be very effective. And there's been 50,000 of these NFT collections that have sold where people have, where money has flowed from this group of people to that group of people for whatever reason that they buy those things. They're buying for art, they're buying them because they like a project or what the people are doing, or just donating money to somebody. That is one way that people have used NFTs to, because we have these rails where people are buying NFTs using cryptocurrency. They're able, like people have been able to spend, or people have been able to buy into a collection and spend millions of dollars in the course of minutes. And the system, these blockchains have been able to handle that. Whereas you see systems like Ticketmaster break down when too many people try and buy a Taylor Swift ticket. You have people jumping into Ethereum and spending $200 million in a day, and the blockchain supporting it without the original company having to spend an extra dollar on infrastructure, because the infrastructure, the public infrastructure, supports it. So that's phenomenal. So you have 50,000 NFTs that were minted up till now. It's been probably more than that. It's at 37 billion spent the first half of 2022. That slowed down at the end of 2022, but now it's picking back up again right now. The highest price ever paid for an NFT was 91 million so far. NFT marketplaces, these are the biggest NFT marketplaces. Most of these are decentralized, which means you need to have your own wallet and your own cryptocurrency. Actually, all of them are. OpenSea is by far the most dominant. So if you wanted to play with buying an NFT, and most of the NFTs right now, they're mostly art and or there's a few game NFTs that are popular, but because the infrastructure for like practical NFTs is not really, very like an NFT for free coffee, right? That is just coming down the road. Starbucks is just doing that now. So most of the NFTs are these sort of like NFTs where you buy and you're like, well, I don't know what the point of this NFT. People are buying and selling it. That's what these marketplaces mainly support right now. So OpenSea is like probably 90 to 95% of the NFT marketplace right now is completely mostly at OpenSea, but you can check out the other ones. NBA Top Shot is sports. It's been fairly decent at doing digital collectibles for basketball. If you're a basketball fan, that's the place to get into NFTs for that. I think that there's a relatively high customer satisfaction rate there. If you enjoy collecting baseball cards and basketball cards and football cards, collecting digital versions of those cards is not very different. The main difference is that those cards will never decay. So, but you can buy, sell, trade them, look at them.
And sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure that you keep moving along because we may not have enough time for the code. Just keep moving
Okay, all right.
a little more.
So yeah, so just real quick, these are some of the things that are coming up, the big use cases for NFTs. Access, like I was saying, Starbucks special memberships. Reddit is doing icons, Instagram is doing NFTs, collectibles, contracts. Uh, uh, NFTs are good for things like you can keep them in escrow programmatically and royalties and stuff like that. The rails I was talking about, coupons. If Ben and Jerry's was to do NFTs for coupons, you could do coupons for discounts on ice cream. And the benefit would be you don't have little paper coupons that disappear and people potentially fake. You have like impossible to fake coupons that that are in this digital railroads in the cloud. Memberships, same as access there. Tracking physical property, that's where kind of OwnerFi was our company really spends a lot of time on. And actually, just recently, I helped add a new specification for Ethereum for doing receipts as in smart contracts. So that one's going to be big coming down the pipeline, and we could definitely help you with that. At OwnerFi, if somebody's interested in that, we could help with all these things. But virtual accessories, this is about the metaverse. There's a lot of, I didn't get into the metaverse, but NFTs in the metaverse are essentially going to be a building block, like the atomic component of physical owning anything in the metaverse, where everything is unlimited. A lot of people say, well, if everything's unlimited, then you can just, why make any artificial scarcity? Well, because there's a limited amount of service that people can provide. So there might be someone who creates a group of developers who create a metaverse, but they don't have unlimited attention and they don't have unlimited pay for themselves. And they don't have unlimited resources. So they have a limited amount of resources. So they divvy those resources up based on creating digital scarcity. And that's why you have NFTs in the metaverse. These are...
There's a question. Should we take a question real quick?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
What have you found to be the best way to store all your keys and secret or private keys? External encrypted hard drive with one large key?
So personally, I keep my stuff on a Trezor, a hardware wallet, where I have the private keys and it's offline. That's where you put stuff in cold storage, they say, where you're going to keep money for a long time or assets for a long time. But if you're going to do a hot wallet, most people probably use MetaMask, which is a browser extension. You wouldn't want to keep like a lot of assets there long term because you use it to access apps online. But then there's another section. There's another segment which is custodial wallets, and there's very few companies who are doing custodial wallets. OwnerFi is one of them, and what we do is we use a split encryption method where the keys are encrypted the same way you do PCI compliance with a credit card, where you have it's a 512 bit encryption, and then also the decryption keys are stored in a separate place. So you need to decrypt using the separate keys that are stored in the database keys plus the off-site keys. So that's what we do, and that makes it so that we can manage keys for other people so that other people can do transactions without approve every single transaction, or without having to supply their own cryptocurrency. So those are the levels. Like you have custodial, where you have a company managing your cryptocurrency for you. That's like Coinbase is like custodial wallets. When you buy and sell cryptocurrency, they're managing stuff on their own servers. Then you have middle ground, which is like MetaMask, where you're managing your own keys, but you're doing every transaction yourself on your laptop. And then you have cold storage, where you're putting stuff onto a cold storage wallet, and it's a pain in the butt to actually like do transactions because you got to plug this like little device into your computer. So those are the levels. Is that all right? Or should I go on?
Yeah, let's keep
I
going.
can't see the.
It's yeah,
Okay.
it's 1:35. So I need a little time for my
Okay.
coffee.
So here are the brands that are getting into NFTs right now. There's a ton of them. We'll probably have the slides later.
Well, that had changed now. So let's see, where are we at? Okay, so we are back at 20, what is it, 22, 23, close to 23. This was the
Yeah,
Bitcoin stored back and when we did this presentation in the CF Summit.
Bitcoin is surging right now, and NFT projects. There's new NFT projects have been selling out lately, and everything's kind of surging again. Everything goes through these cycles. Web3 is a lot of what they call NFTs, and Web3 are kind of synonymous right now. Web3 is a little bit more encompassing than that. It's also just blockchain in general. That's not everything. That's not Bitcoin. Everything that's like bigger than just quantities, like saving data and doing smart contracts. Smart contracts can do other things than every NFT that's on Ethereum has a smart contract associated with it. It's basically where the memory space is for those NFTs. You can deploy a smart contract through our API. It's pretty easy. But if you were to do a smart contract yourself, you have to compile the code for the smart contract with a local compiler, and then you have to deploy that using cryptocurrency from a wallet that you create from your local machine. And those contracts can do a lot more than just have memory space for NFTs. They could do like time-based operations where they release the amount of assets over a certain period of time. They can control who you could make a payroll smart contract where it pushes funds to like 5 different parties over a period of time. You a smart contract all based on like moving assets around and locking things and doing permissions and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to get into Solidity and look at some of the other contracts. But most people are only either doing NFTs or they're doing DeFi, which is like fungible tokens. Most people are working with fungible or non-fungible tokens, but then you get more exotic things like DAOs, voting rights, people doing actual voting, data validation, some other things you could do with smart contracts. Here's some links to smart contracts. Open Zeppelin, if you're really curious about smart contracts. That's a link to a deployed contract where you can look at Etherscan and see it on the blockchain. Here's just things to keep in mind when you're working with smart contracts. You want to test them on a test net. Validate your code so that other people can see what's in your smart contract so that they trust it. See, and then here's kind of a lot of the companies involved with working with cryptocurrency right now and like what it takes to get involved with work with NFTs and cryptocurrency right now. Basically, like all the companies you have to deal with. And then, so this is this is what makes what's so special about OwnerFi is that we kind of take all of this and squeeze it together and make it so you really would only have to deal with one company to get into NFTs, particularly if you wanted to, and you could use OwnerFi entirely for NFTs without having to even buy cryptocurrency or anything. Yeah, so I guess we can get into, we just do everything for you when it comes to NFTs and the right way with your own smart contracts and creating wallets. So that's what Masha is going to get right now, and I hope we have enough time for that. All right.
Yes. So I'm taking over. So give me 1 second.
You want me to stop screen?
Yes, stop streaming. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
No, not stop streaming, just stop sharing the screen. Looks like you're still sharing the screen.
I hit stop. Did it stop?
We cannot see you now, but you're still sharing your screen.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys. So your company can help people intelligently manage inventory and sell NFTs. not sell at this point. You would have to use other platforms for selling, like specifically OpenSea. But what we help with is to create as Aka Mint NFTs in a programmatic way. So you can do batches at the time, you can do collections, etc.
Also, yeah, and also I want to. It's really important to understand that like selling through OpenSea is like version 1.0 of NFTs. Like ideally, if you would sell your own NFTs like with a credit card processor, and through our service, you wouldn't need to use OpenSea. What you would do is you would have your own marketplace, or you would use your own credit card processors, and you would create user accounts for your users. And then when somebody buys an NFT, you would just move the NFT yourself. So that's why we're not as trying to be as integrated into those kinds of marketplaces, because we're trying to make this technology more for the next phase of NFTs, where people are doing things mixed with their own credit card processing and managing NFTs more under the hood, like more like a Visa MasterCard network kind of thing. I cannot figure out how to.
Please click on stop sharing, which comes in the drop down on of the three dots. Do you see that? Three dots, like in your screen sharing part. Stop sharing.
I don't have a three dots.
Okay, you know what?
Only have
something. So hold on, maybe this works. Let me see. I did it actually. So now tell me if you start seeing my screen. So give me 1 second. Okay, I'm just gonna do the whole window. So can you see my screen now?
I see your screen.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're good. Everybody can see my screen now? Yes, just making sure. Great. Okay, perfect. So what Nick went over in all of those in the slides with this one right here, how just to show you how difficult it is to actually manually deploy and operate a smart contract. And at this point for Cold Fusion, there is really no easy way to natively mint NFTs. It took Nick and I, mostly Nick, years of programming hours to get to the point where we are. So we were one of the first ones creating this API. It operates just like any API. And what I have for you today is just to show you how easy it is to use. And we just kind of run, a few examples of code using it. So to begin, you just need to go to the website, get started, get the API key, the usual stuff. There's also documentation you can go over. It's on ownerfi.com. It's in the section right here, Postman docs. And so what I have done, I've done all of that. Let me pull up my code screen. So here we go, just making sure. Okay. So here's my file here. I have already I've gotten the API key. I've already posted it. This file, by the way, is up on GitHub. Maybe Nick can go ahead and post a link to it while I'm talking in the chat. What I have here is, I will show you the presentation part right here at the end. I basically have 3 sections where I am showing all the collections that are created for me and all the NFTs and all the users. When you first create your API key, one collection is actually created by default. That way you can go ahead and start minting without actually creating collection. But I will go ahead and show you how you may want to create a collection. So in this file, I have all the methods of connecting to the API to do some basic functions. So then one of the functions I will do is create a collection. So right here, I'll uncomment this code and we'll run it again to make sure we create it. So as you can see, we get a status back that it's in the queue and we get a transaction ID. So now if I go back to my presentation layer, you will be able to see. Now it takes a little bit of time to get everything updated. So we might have to refresh a few times until we can see that this this new collection was created, which we called Cold Fusion Demo. So let me go ahead and refresh a couple more times. Sometimes you get lucky and it, pops up real fast, and sometimes it takes a second. Let me look in the room. Could you show us the code? Zoom in a bit. Yes, let me see. So I've already zoomed in mostly, but let me go over it again. So, just mostly basic things using HTTP request, all native Cold Fusion, no surprises here, just any, like you would use any of the APIs. And all of this is on GitHub that Nick is going to post.
I put it in the chat.
You posted it already, okay. So let's go ahead and see if we can see our collection that was created. Well, still slow. Hopefully we can get to that point today, but so there's create user, there's transfer NFTs that hopefully we'll be able to get to.
Yeah. So keep in mind, like we have to deal with public networks, right? So all this data, what makes all of it special is that we're using public networks, but it also makes everything a little bit less instantaneous.
Oh, there we go. So, okay, so it came through. So you can see this one right here is the one we've created. So I'm going to enlarge the screen. Hopefully that helps. So this is the new collection that we have created. So the next step I was going to show you is to mint NFTs. So this is the part, and I'm just creating an array of 2 NFTs that I'm going to mint. One I'm calling Cold Fusion Demo, and the other one, Zombie Friends, is one of the NFT collections that we actually do. So, okay, let me make sure that I got this right. Okay, so it's this one right here. So this code right here will find the right contract address, which we called it Cold Fusion Demo, right here, and it will go over the array and mint the NFTs that we've created. So let's see if this works. Here we go. So we have a result for that. So we will go ahead and comment back out, and now go back to our presentation and wait for the NFTs to show up. So again, this will take a few minutes, sometimes a little bit longer to come up. And let's hope this live demonstration goes smoothly, which doesn't always happen. But
Hugh wants to see the code. Did you show the code, or is it
which part?
The Cold Fusion code?
So, okay, so here I'll come in and back out. So we're going over, and I know I'm going fast over this, but if again, it is on GitHub and you can check it out at, any point and test it. So we have, your array.
Did you share? Yeah, I don't think you shared your screen is only showing the browser. I think maybe that's the issue.
Oh, is it? Can you not see? I'm sharing the whole window.
We only see the browser.
Okay. I apologize. Okay. I think I shared the wrong thing. I apologize. So give me 1 second to switch. Screen. Entire screen. That's what I should have picked. My apologies. So you have not been actually able to see what I'm showing. I apologize. So let's see if this works now. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. My apologies. So, okay, let me go over it real quick one more time then. Here we have, all the requests to the API, and get collection, create collection. Again, this goes all in line with how you would normally interact with an API, and you could use our documentation here to get, the right URLs for your gets and puts. And so here's a little bit more of that code that I didn't show you earlier. So let's run this again and see if I am able to actually see the NFTs that supposedly I was minting. Yes. So what this has done now is that we had minted 2 NFTs into the new collection that we have just created, into Cold Fusion Demo collection. So as you can see here, it is correct. And these are the 2 NFTs that I just created. So we only have 10 minutes. So let me see if I can sort of wrap this up real quick with what I was going to do. So I was going to create a new user next and then transfer one of the NFTs over to that user. So to create a new user, there's my little code for that. Here it is. Go ahead and run that. Here we go.
And these are on the live network, right, Masha?
Yes, correct. I'm running the code locally, but of course I'm connecting to Polygon. Here, just to show you what you get back when you do create a user, you get back the public address and the private key.
So if anybody has like a MetaMask wallet or like Trust or like any NFT wallet, we would actually be able to send you one of these NFTs and it would show up in your account. It's pretty cool.
Here you can see that we do have this new user that we have just created. I'm going to go ahead and copy the public address of that user. And the next thing we're going to do is to transfer the NFT to this new user that I have just created. So I will change the public address right here. And I also need to add the token ID of the NFT. So we'll go ahead and transfer this one right here. So, okay, I think this is right. Go ahead and try it. Okay, so looks like we're getting a green light here that supposedly it was transferred. So I'm going to go ahead and comment this out. Now what I'm looking for in this presentation layer is that one NFT from my collection previously should go away and go to the new user. So to also see that, I'm going to go ahead and uncomment this piece of code that I have. Okay, and I need the public address that I had. Transfer, here it is. So I'm adding the public address that we've just created, and I should be able to see that one NFT has left our collection and is now transferred over. No NFTs for user address. Okay, so it hasn't transferred yet. Going to transfer both? Okay, no, this is right. Okay, so this is all right. Okay, let's go over what we've done. So we've transferred one of the NFTs from the collection called Fusion Demo to this new user that we have just created. And so everything appears to be correct, just the way we intended. So this short demo in our actual presentation at Cold Fusion Summit, we were able to even transfer one of the NFTs to the audience, but I don't know if we have much time for that. So I'm probably not going to go over how doing that. But I just wanted to again iterate and show you. Well, it's not the right screen. So I just wanted to iterate how easy it is to use the API, in that it integrates seamlessly with other platforms like OpenSea, so we can so you can see the NFTs you've created on OpenSea platform. One thing to note, you may think that you're able to create mint NFTs on OpenSea API, but you're actually not able to do that. To mint NFTs on OpenSea, you actually have to log in and create it. So there's no programmatic way to do it. So there are limited options on how you can mint NFTs in batches, and we're one of the ones that provide that option. Should we go over the questions, Nick?
Yeah, I've been trying to answer in the chat. Is there a separate like questions area?
Let's go ahead and voice it. Some of the ones. Does Polygon have a sandbox mode?
Yeah, I was saying that like, so you can use our API as well. If you want to use the sandbox version, you can go to staging.ownerfi.com. Let me just double check. Let's see.
We'll have this up.
Sorry, no, sorry. It's staging.ownerfi.io. And that is, and then if you make an account there, you can use staging ownerfi.io as the root for all your API calls, and that will use the Mumbai Polygon network. And that way you can make test NFTs that nobody can see.
I just saw the note. Thank you.
Yeah, so that all the blockchain networks have their corresponding test blockchains. Polygon has Mumbai, Ethereum has Go Early. The other ones have there's other test networks out there. Polygon's is Mumbai, and it has Etherscan, Etherscan version on Mumbai as well.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about me not showing the code. And of course, I can't see the chat. So Nick, you were supposed to be looking out for me.
I saw. Well, at first I was confused because I didn't know also.
Okay, so do we have any more questions?
Okay, cool. Yeah, you can reach out to us if you have any other questions about how all this works. I'm really happy to answer those on email or Discord if you have Discord. I'm on there.
Here's our contact information, just email addresses.